Newcastle, congratulations, because you might have just pulled out the signing of the summer in Nico Gonzalez. Now, Nico Gonzalez to Newcastle might just be my favourite transfer so far in the summer window because he adds so much what Newcastle had been lacking. Now, whenever I've watched Newcastle over the last couple of years, I've looked at the likes of Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes and thought they're top midfielders. But can Newcastle have a midfielder in there that can kind of slow the game down at times, control the tempo of games, be that metronome in midfield? And I think Nico Gonzalez does that very, very well. And he kind of had to. He's playing for Manchester City. He was the number 6 when Rodri was out at times last year. And I think he'd done a very good job at, let's say, filling Rodri's gap, which, listen, is not easy. He's an extremely top-end player, one of the best ever in his position. And you guys can see the numbers on the screen here. This looks at Nico Gonzalez's ball progression numbers. And as you would expect, a lot of metrics he shines in. Expected threat build-up. He's one of the best in the world. But more importantly, forward passes. Look how highly he ranks in that. And that's what Newcastle are getting. Someone that can play the number 6 role, that can obviously spray passes and get the ball forward. And listen, you're looking at Newcastle's midfield right now. Sean Sturr, Lewis Miley. Two players that had top performances on the weekend against Liverpool. Could they do someone with an extra bit of experience? 100%. Could Nico Gonzalez be that, let's say, hot midfielder for the next 3 to 4 years, kind of guiding Sean Sturr? 1000%. I think this is a top signing. Now, just to add to that, look at this graphic on the screen here, which looks at passes to the final third. Nico Gonzalez was 5th for passes to the final third per 90 last year in the Premier League. But this is what makes Nico Gonzalez special in terms of he has all the on-the-ball qualities, but defensively, I don't think he gets enough credit because he can actually cover large spaces and he does that very well. And his defensive numbers, guys, are some of the best you will see. Look at this graphic on the screen, which looks at active defending adjusted by possession, guys, using 50% as the base metric, let's say, number. Look at his ground rule numbers, very high. Look at his aerial drill numbers. That is something that Nico Gonzalez doesn't get enough credit for. And look at tackles and interceptions when they're adjusted by possession. These are elite defensive numbers. And just when we're talking about the tackles and interceptions point, when we're looking at, let's say, other midfielders in the Premier League adjusted for possession, their tackles and interceptions numbers, Nico Gonzalez ranks 2nd on that list behind Moises Caicedo. He doesn't get enough credit for this side of his game though. Now, so far in this video, I've spoken about Nico Gonzalez on the ball qualities and his ability defensively to cover large space, obviously. But what makes Nico Gonzalez such a perfect fit for Matthias Jaissle's Newcastle is Matthias Jaissle wants his Newcastle side to be pressing. He's come through, let's say, the Red Bull school. He's managed Salzburg in the past. Look how good Nico Gonzalez's counter-pressing and recoveries are. He averages 6.2 counter-pressing recoveries per 90 minutes, which puts him in the top percentile for midfielders in the Premier League. So if Newcastle still want to play that aggressive pressing game, Nico Gonzalez suits that down to a T. But let's be honest, Nico Gonzalez's main role at Newcastle is going to be to replace the void left by Tonali and Bruno Guimaraes. And I'm about to shock you. But if you're ready to be shocked, make sure you guys like the video first, because I'm going to show you a defensive comparison between all 3 midfielders. And you guys can see the graphic on the screen here. Nico Gonzalez wins in so many categories when you're comparing it to Tonali and Bruno G. For example, aerial duels, Nico Gonzalez comes out on top. Interceptions, Sandro Tonali comes out on top at 3.67. But look, Nico Gonzalez is not even that far behind at 3.33. Ball recoveries, Nico Gonzalez comes out on top, and he comes out on top by a bit of a distance. He averages 9.65 recoveries per 90, Tonali 7.94, Bruno G 6.15. I think this is going to shock a lot of people because I don't think, like I said before, the defensive part of his game, Nico Gonzalez gets enough hype for, especially considering the fact Tonali and Bruno G, you could argue, play for a bit more defensive side. You would have thought their raw data might have been a bit better, but no, Nico Gonzalez is actually just a freak. But let's look at the passing metrics between the 3. And again, I think it makes a very interesting reading. Like you would expect playing for Manchester City, the amount of passes he makes, Nico Gonzalez comes out on top. The more, let's say, attacking passing metrics, assists, expected assists, Bruno G comes out on top. But that's something you would expect considering the fact Bruno G also took set pieces last year for Newcastle. But again, look at the bottom set of metrics, which I think is a big positive in terms of what Newcastle are getting. Passes to the final third, Nico Gonzalez comes out on top. Receive passes, so how many times is he actually getting the ball? Nico Gonzalez comes out on top, always available, so good in that aspect of things. Forward passes, again, Nico Gonzalez comes out on top. Newcastle are getting almost a freak of nature in terms of they're getting someone that can cover large spaces, someone that's good defensively, but then they're also getting on the ball quality. Guys, how are more clubs not after Nico Gonzalez, and how are Man City letting him go? I cannot believe it. Newcastle are getting an absolute steal who solves so many of Newcastle's problems. And like I said before, this in my eyes is going to go down as one of the signings of the window. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a like, subscribe to the channel, and I'll be back soon.